I never thought betrayal would come from the same hands I once held to teach him how to walk. But that night, standing in the doorway of the house Evelyn and I built brick by brick, my own son looked at me like I was a guest who had overstayed his welcome. My name is James Carter, and this is the story of how everything I loved was nearly taken from me. The funeral was quiet, too quiet. I sat in the front row clutching the folded flag from Evelyn's coffin, my fingers trembling. Beside me, Michael stood stiff as a board, his tie slightly loose, his eyes not on the casket but on the ceiling, like he was counting tiles instead of mourning his mother. Every now and then, his wife Tina leaned toward him, whispering something behind her hand. I caught their eyes once. She smiled, thin, calculated. Michael gave me that polite, distant look people give strangers at bus stops. Evelyn would have hated this silence. She was the light in every room. I remember the day we first stepped into this house. Bare walls, broken floors, and a promise between us. She painted the living room pale cream and hung lace curtains she sewed herself. I rebuilt the porch by hand. She planted roses along the fence, red and pink, and said, "When we're gone, these flowers will tell our story." Back then, Michael was just a boy chasing fireflies in the yard, laughing while Evelyn clapped her hands and called him in for dinner. Those walls held every Christmas, every argument, every late-night whisper. Now, standing at her grave, I felt that legacy slipping through my fingers. After the service, the family gathered in the living room. The house smelled like old wood and roses. Carla, my sister, squeezed my shoulder gently. "She'd be proud of how strong you're being," she whispered. I nodded, but my eyes followed Michael as he paced near the kitchen. He didn't look sad. He looked distracted. Finally, he cleared his throat. "Dad," he said, glancing at Tina, "we should probably talk about, plans." I frowned. "Plans?" Tina stepped forward. "The house, Mr. Carter," she said smoothly as if correcting a child. "It's a lot to manage alone." "Maybe we should think ahead." My chest tightened. "Evelyn just passed," I said quietly. "Can we not do this today?" Michael raised his hands defensively. "I'm just saying we should be practical." "You're living here by yourself now. It's a big house. Maybe it's time to consider alternatives." "Alternatives?" I repeated. Tina gave a soft laugh. "Like selling, or moving somewhere smaller. You'd be more comfortable, and we could, make use of the place." Her tone was sweet, but her eyes gleamed like a knife under light. I forced a smile, pushing down the sting. "We'll talk later." "Not today," Michael shrugged. "Sure, Dad." Later. 2 days later, I found Michael in the garage. Standing in my work area like he owned the place, tools were scattered. He leaned against the workbench, arms crossed. "Hey, Dad," he started casually. "I was just thinking, maybe you'd be happier in one of those retirement communities. You'd get company, activities, everything." "I'm fine here," I replied, tightening a bolt to avoid looking at him. He chuckled. "This place is too big for you, and honestly, it's old. Tina's been talking about remodeling, making it more modern. She has some great ideas." I stopped. "Modern? For what?" "For us," he said simply, as if it were obvious. I turned slowly. "Michael, this house is your mother's heart. Every wall here has a memory. I'm not leaving." He shifted uncomfortably. "I didn't say you had to leave. You just did." I cut him off. He sighed. "Dad, you can't live in the past forever." That night, I sat alone in Evelyn's favorite chair, staring at her framed photo above the fireplace. Her smile was soft, eyes kind. He's just grieving differently, I told myself. Give him time. But deep down, something cold began to form, a quiet doubt I didn't want to face. A week later, we sat in the lawyer's office for the will reading. I wore my old suit. Michael wore a confident smirk. Tina had a notepad, ready like a hawk circling prey. The lawyer read Evelyn's words slowly. She left the house to me, solely. Her voice, recorded years ago, echoed through the small office. "James, this house is yours. Protect it. It's the heart of our family." Michael tapped his foot impatiently. When the lawyer finished, Michael leaned back and muttered, "Guess that settles it." But Tina pressed. "There's got to be a way to adjust ownership, right?" she asked the lawyer. "For practicality." The lawyer shook his head. "It's clear." The property remains in James Carter's name. I watched Michael's face. For a split second, his mask slipped. Frustration. Greed. Then it was gone. Days passed, but his subtle pushes didn't stop. At breakfast one morning, he said, "You ever think about traveling, Dad? Seeing the world. Maybe letting us take care of things here?" "Michael," I said calmly, "I built this house with your mother. I'm not going anywhere." He forced a smile. "We'll see." Then came that night. The hallway was dim, the old grandfather clock ticking like a warning. I was reading Evelyn's letters when the doorbell rang. Michael stood outside, hands shoved in his jacket pockets. "Can we talk?" he asked. I stepped aside. He didn't sit. He paced. "Dad," he said finally, his voice firm, "it's time you moved on." I stared at him. "Moved on?" He met my eyes, cold, decisive. "Yeah, it's time." The house suddenly felt smaller, the walls heavier. Evelyn's roses swayed outside in the wind, as if they, too, heard the betrayal. I didn't argue. I just watched him walk away, not realizing he had just lit the first match in a fire he couldn't control. They say betrayal happens slowly, like water seeping through a crack. But for me, it arrived in signed papers, polite smiles, and a single sentence that shattered everything. "Dad, you can trust me." I wish I'd read between the lines. Michael started showing up more often after that night, not with warmth, but with plans. One evening, I was sipping tea on the porch when his car pulled up. Tina got out first, wearing expensive sunglasses even though the sun had set. "Evening, Dad," Michael said, stepping up with a folder tucked under his arm. Tina smiled like a realtor. "We brought something for you to look over." I frowned. "What's this?" "Just some routine stuff," Michael said smoothly. "Property tax documents, minor adjustments. You know how messy paperwork gets with older homes." I hesitated. The folder was thick. "Why are you handling this?" He laughed lightly. "Because I care." "You've got enough on your plate? Let me take some of that burden. Just sign where the lawyer marked." "It's nothing major," Tina tapped the folder. "It'll make things easier for everyone." I should have called my lawyer, but grief fogs the mind and trust blinds the eyes. Evelyn's death still clung to me like smoke. I signed, once, twice, my pen dragging across pages I didn't fully read. Michael smiled, folded the papers neatly, and kissed my forehead like a benevolent son. "You'll thank me later, Dad." Weeks passed, and subtle changes crept into the house. First, Tina replaced the curtains Evelyn had sewn with glossy white drapes that looked like they belonged in a hotel. Then she brought in a designer who talked about open concepts and modernizing the kitchen. One morning, I walked downstairs to find two strangers measuring the living room walls. "What's going on here?" I asked. Tina appeared behind them. "Relax, James. We're just getting quotes for renovations. You'll love it when it's done." "I didn't agree to this," I snapped. She smiled faintly. "Technically, you did. You signed the papers, remember?" My stomach sank. "What papers?" Michael walked in, holding a cup of coffee like nothing was wrong. "Dad, don't make this a big deal. The house needs work. We're just moving things forward." That night, I sat alone in the kitchen. The roses Evelyn planted swayed outside in the moonlight. I thought of all the years I spent fixing every broken shingle, every leaky pipe, to keep this house alive. But now it felt like someone else was moving in, someone who didn't care about the history inside these walls. A week later, the final push came. Michael called me into the living room after dinner. Tina sat beside him, legs crossed, eyes sharp. "Dad," Michael began, "we need to have an honest conversation." I crossed my arms. "Go ahead." He leaned forward. "This house, it's too much for you. We've already started some renovations, and honestly, it makes sense for Tina and me to take over full time." "Take over?" I repeated. Tina jumped in. "You can move into a really nice retirement complex just outside town. They have activities, nurses, even a shuttle. You'd have friends your age. Doesn't that sound better than rattling around this old place alone?" I stared at them, my heartbeat pounding in my ears. "This is my home." "Your mother's home?" "I'm not leaving." Michael sighed dramatically like I was a stubborn child. "Dad, you already signed the papers. You basically handed everything over. All that's left is to make this transition smooth." I stepped back. "What did I sign?" He held up the folder. "Power of attorney. Temporary transfer clauses. Don't worry. It's all legal. You'll still be comfortable. You tricked me, I whispered. Tina raised her eyebrows. Tricked? James, we're helping you. You should be grateful. The breaking point came 3 nights later. I woke to the sound of hammering and voices. I rushed downstairs in my robe to find workers tearing down Evelyn's rose-covered archway at the back porch. Stop, I shouted. You can't touch that. One of the workers shrugged. Ma'am said to take it down. New decks going in. I turned to Michael and Tina standing on the lawn. This is too far. Michael stepped forward. Dad, you're not listening. This is happening. Whether you like it or not, I clenched my fists. You're erasing her, Tina scoffed. We're updating. Evelyn's gone, James. It's time to move on. Her words hit like a slap. For the first time, I saw them clearly. Not as family, but as intruders wearing familiar faces. The next day, Michael showed up at my bedroom door with 2 suitcases. I packed your essentials, he said casually. We found a place for you. It's quiet, safe, good reviews, I laughed bitterly. You're serious. Dead serious, he said. Dad, this isn't working anymore. We need the house. You need somewhere else. I'm not leaving, I said firmly. His jaw tightened. Don't make this harder. You signed the papers. You have no legal standing now. I'll give you a week to get settled. If you don't, we'll take the next steps. I stared at him in disbelief. Are you threatening me? He looked away. I'm trying to be reasonable. A week later, he wasn't asking anymore. He stood at the front door at night, suitcase in hand, eyes cold. Tina hovered behind him like a shadow. Dad, he said, his voice steady, it's time. I looked past him into the house, my house. The walls were half-painted, Evelyn's curtains gone, her arch torn down. It didn't even look like home anymore. I stepped outside slowly. The door closed behind me with a click that echoed in my chest. On the porch, I whispered into the wind, I'll make this right, Evelyn. Just not today. When they closed the door behind me that night, the silence didn't feel empty. It felt alive, heavy, watching. I carried 2 suitcases and a bruised heart to a rented 1-room apartment across town, but I didn't tell a soul where I went. For 30 days, I disappeared. The place was small, bare walls, a single window overlooking a cracked parking lot, but it gave me something my own house no longer could. Space to breathe. I spent the first few nights in a fog, sitting on a creaky chair with Evelyn's photo on the nightstand. Her smile stared back at me. In that quiet room, I could almost hear her voice. James, don't let them take what we built. At first, I thought the voice was grief playing tricks, but as the days passed, grief began to harden into something sharper. My sister Carla called on the 4th day. James? Where on earth are you? I'm okay, I said, though my voice cracked. She didn't buy it. Michael's been telling everyone you chose to move out. Is that true? I hesitated. Something like that. Something like that, she snapped. You sound like a ghost, James. Talk to me, Carla, I whispered. Not yet. I need time. Please. She sighed. All right. But whatever's going on, don't let that boy walk all over you. I hung up, my chest tightening. She didn't know the half of it. Every morning I walked the streets near my old house, not close enough to be seen, but close enough to watch. From a distance I saw Michael in the yard barking orders at contractors, laughing with friends on the porch like a king surveying his land. Tina strutted in and out, waving at neighbors as if she owned the neighborhood. I stood across the street sometimes, hidden behind a tree, gripping my cane like a blade. They thought I was gone, forgotten, but I was right there, watching them repaint Evelyn's house in colors she would have hated. By the 2nd week, I started digging, literally. I opened my old metal file box, something I hadn't touched since Evelyn passed. Inside were deeds, mortgage papers, insurance documents, and a sealed envelope in Evelyn's handwriting. For James, if anything happens. My fingers shook as I opened it. Inside was a copy of the original house deed, with my name and only my name listed as the legal owner. A handwritten note from Evelyn fell into my lap. James, I know how the world works. People change. Protect this house. I've made sure everything is in your name. Don't ever sign anything without reading it. If Michael ever tries to take it, This deed will protect you. Evelyn. I sat there for a long time, reading those words over and over until the ink blurred from tears. She'd seen something in Michael I hadn't. She'd prepared for a storm I refused to believe would come. I took the papers to Marcus, an old friend and real estate agent who'd helped me buy the house decades ago. He raised an eyebrow as he flipped through the documents. James, he said slowly, this is gold. Michael doesn't own a splinter of that house. If he's pretending otherwise, he's walking on thin ice. I signed some papers, I admitted. Power of attorney. Temporary transfer language. I didn't read them. Marcus leaned back. He probably thought those papers gave him the upper hand. But the original deed is still in your name. Unless you filed something in the county records to transfer ownership officially, which you didn't, legally, you're still the sole owner. A slow, dangerous calm spread through me. So, he's living in my house on borrowed time. Marcus nodded. Exactly. That night, lying in the dark, I thought about every hammer he'd swung into Evelyn's archway, every curtain she'd sewn that Tina ripped down, every smile Michael gave me while plotting behind my back. They weren't just taking my home, they were rewriting our story, and that I couldn't forgive. The third week, I began preparing quietly. I visited the county clerk's office under the radar, confirming every legal detail. The records were clean. James Carter, sole owner. Michael had filed no official transfer. I spoke to a lawyer, Harold Kim, who reviewed the documents. He looked at me with a half smile. Mr. Carter, if you want, you could sell this house tomorrow, without Michael knowing, until the new owner knocks on his door. Can I really? I asked. Yes, he said. And if he's remortgaged, or forged anything, he's in for a world of legal trouble. I walked out of that office into the cold air with my shoulders straighter than they'd been in months. For the first time since Evelyn died, I wasn't drowning. I was calculating. On the 30th day, I returned to the quiet park across from my house. Michael's lights were on. Laughter spilled out. Music thumped. He thought he'd won. I watched from the shadows, clutching Evelyn's letter in my jacket. Protect this house. My jaw tightened. Don't worry, Evelyn, I whispered to the night. I'm done mourning. It's time they learn who really owns this story. The wind rustled through the trees, carrying the faint scent of roses from our garden. It didn't feel like grief anymore. It felt like war. I didn't come back with noise. I came like fog, soft, quiet, everywhere at once. A beard hid my jaw, cheap glasses dulled my eyes, and a thrift store windbreaker made me look smaller. If Michael glanced up from the porch, he'd see a tired neighbor, not the father threading a net around him. Marcus met me at a diner 2 streets over. Disguise suits you, he said. Feels less like a mask, more like armor, I answered. He slid a folder over. We set up a simple LLC. You're a retired buyer sniffing for fixer-uppers. I'll do the talking. You just look curious. Name? Roseline Holdings, I smiled. Evelyn's roses live in the paperwork now. I rented a narrow room above a bakery. The landlady, Nora Briggs, squinted at me. Month to month? That's all I need. You quiet? Very. She handed me a key. Quiet people are the loudest in their heads. From that single window, I could see the roofline of my house if the clouds hung low. I walked the block at odd hours, hands in pockets, hat low, eyes open. Contractors lugged tile through the gate where Evelyn's wind chimes once sang. Tina pointed and commanded. Open the wall. Bigger, a foreman asked. Budget? Don't worry, she said. Financing's coming. At dusk, Michael held court on the porch. You wouldn't believe the equity, he bragged to a friend. Refi? Better. We roll it into a new venture. Your dad okay with that? He's moved on. The words hit like a wrench to the teeth. Marcus called that night. Pulled county records, he said. Deed's clean, your name only. But I'm seeing inquiry chatter from a private lender. Halloway? Could be. I'll poke around careful, I warned. I'm careful by habit, he said. Keep watching. I kept watching. I sat in the corner bar with a ginger ale in a slow posture. Michael chalked a pool cue and laughed with the contractor. Second phase is go, he said. Paperwork's moving. The bartender leaned toward me. You local? Thinking of buying, I said. Love quiet streets. He grinned. Then don't move near that circus. The new folks party like they own the block. New folks? Guy named Michael? Some men mistake keys for crowns, I murmured. Morning found me at the fence beside my old yard. Maggie, our elder cousin and the neighbor that week, watered petunias. Pretty place, I said. What happened to the rose arch? Ripped out, she sighed. Shame. The old couple loved it. History doesn't fit open concept, I said. She gave me a puzzled look, then nodded. Some people only love what shines. When she went inside, I studied sight lines and the way voices carried. I wasn't planting anything yet. I was measuring the harvest. I counted paces from gate to porch, from porch to street, letting numbers anchor me. When feelings ran hot, math cooled them. Distance and timing would do the rest. That night, Marcus pulled up under a dead street lamp. News, he said. Holloway Capital. Fast money. Slow ethics. If they don't look deep, they'll issue a soft approval. He's mortgaging a house he doesn't own, I said. On paper, he's confident, Marcus replied. Confidence buys time, contractors, and mistakes. I want the mistakes, I said. Cold. Focused, I corrected. Protection isn't polite. We built a cover. Marcus printed cards for Roseline and gave me a script. You're a cash buyer, he said. Ask about dumpsters, supply stores, lender names. You're nosy about logistics, not lives understood. The next morning we regrouped at the diner. Marcus sketched a crude map on a napkin. 3 angles, he said. 1, intel from trades. 2, pulse from lenders. 3, community optics. Optics? Neighbors need to see him brag before they see you correct him. It turns gossip into witnesses. I stirred my coffee. I don't like theater. This isn't theater, he said. It's lighting. Truth shows better under it, I nodded. Then light it. Outside, a box truck beeped as it backed toward my curb. I wandered over like any chatty retiree. Morning, I told the driver. You folks busy on this block? Non-stop, he said. Lady here wants rush everything. Who signs? She does. Tina. Says money's coming Friday. A handyman carrying a nail gun joined us. Schedule tight? I asked. Too tight, he said. But she waives cash. She pay on time, he snorted. We'll see. People with the loudest plans pay the slowest. I practiced on the sidewalk. Where do you get tile? I asked a worker. Langford Materials. Dumpsters. Every Tuesday. Who signs off on changes? The lady, he said, rolling his eyes. Tina. Her favorite word is bigger. Bigger breaks faster, I said lightly. He laughed and kept working. Through the open windows one Friday, I heard a meeting. We'll push the lender for pre-funding, Tina said. Michael replied, Underwriting's a formality. A friend asked, Title's clean? Clean as a whistle, Michael lied. I closed my eyes and pictured every lie as a rung on a ladder over a cliff. Carla called that weekend. James, where are you? Close, I said. To what? To the truth. You're scaring me? I'm just watching what people do when they think no one's watching. He's your son. He was my son, I said softly, until my home became his stepping stone. You want me to talk to him? No, I want him to talk himself into a corner. Sunday afternoon, Lucas spotted me at the corner store. He froze. Mr. Carter? Just Jim today, I said, finger to lips. He whispered, Is there a plan? A boundary, I said. Drawn with facts. Do you need help? Eyes and silence. You have both. That evening, 3 trucks idled at my curb. Music thumped. A neighbor complained. Tina waved her off with a glittering laugh. Big things happening, she announced to the street. Michael clinked bottles with a foreman. In a month, we leverage the place and seed the business. Easy money. The foreman squinted. Title's clean? Clean, Michael said again, confident as a man dreaming on thin ice. I walked away before temper did the talking. On the corner, air smelled of hot tar and uprooted earth. I took Evelyn's letter from my pocket and traced her name. Almost there, I told her. A little more rope. Marcus texted, Broker confirms a soft approval if no title flags tomorrow. Want me to spook them? No, I replied. Let him think he's a genius. He wrote back, You're playing long. Truth blooms slow, I typed. Under the weak streetlight, I pictured the reveal. A table, papers, witnesses, and the air leaving Michael's chest when he recognized the one fact that never moved. the deed with my name. My palms cooled, not from fear, but from the weight of justice I was carrying toward him. Across the street, Tina's voice rose one more time. "Bigger," she told a contractor over the phone. "Make it bigger." I tucked the letter away and turned toward the bakery stairs, a small smile finally cracking the mask. "Bigger will do," I whispered. "It means the fall can be seen from farther away. Fresh paint can't hide rot. It only dares it to spread." Marcus and I sat across from a clerk at the county office, a thin woman with ink on her fingers and a bored stare that missed nothing. "Public records are public," she said, sliding a terminal toward us. "Search by parcel number or owner." "Owner," Marcus replied. "Carter." James. On the screen, my name gleamed beside the parcel. The deed's still mine. A second tab showed lender inquiries. Marcus tapped. "Halloway Capital. Fast track review." The clerk scrolled. No deeds recorded, no liens attached. But she clicked another record. A scanned packet to a private portal. Preliminary ownership statement, signed by Tina Carter. Marcus's eyebrows lifted. "She's not on title." "Not here she isn't," the clerk said. "Weak underwriting lets junk slip through." Outside on the courthouse steps, I held the warm printout. Tina claimed she and Michael were managing owners. Michael had sprinkled initials like confetti. "This isn't a real transfer," Marcus said, "but it can mislead a hungry lender." "Then we feed them facts," I answered, quietly. That evening I knocked on Maggie's side gate. She opened, wary, then softened. "James?" "Please," I said. "A little help." "You didn't see me." She led me to the cedar fence we shared with my house, its boards knotted and weathered, a slim gap by the garden. "What are you doing?" "Listening," I said, showing a small recorder. "Only on your property." Maggie hesitated. "If this becomes a war—" "It already is," I said. "They fired first." She nodded. 5 minutes at sundown, then you leave." We timed it to the contractor's baritone hum. I slipped the recorder onto a nail hidden by ivy. Voices drifted from the porch. Tina's clipped, Michael's swaggering a third man. The unknown voice said, "Underwriting wants confirmation on title." Michael laughed. "Relax, the old man is out. By next month it'll be ours officially." There it was, the sentence I needed. Tina added, "Tell them improvements are ongoing." Bigger kitchen, opened walls. "Send photos," the man said, "and sign that owner statement tonight." Maggie touched my sleeve. "You got it?" "I got enough," I said. My voice was steady, the kind you use before you lock a door. The next morning I met Harold Kim in his neat office. He skimmed the packet, then Evelyn's deed. They lied to a lender. "The courthouse is clean. That's your anchor. What do I do?" 3 steps, he said. 1. Revoke any power of attorney and record it. 2. File an affidavit of ownership and possession citing the deed. 3. Send a measured notice to the lender, no threat, stating the property can't be pledged without your signature. Underwriting freezes. Family stays blind. And criminal exposure? If they knowingly submitted false statements, that's separate. Keep it civil. Civil wins quietly. Can I sell without them knowing? "You could sign a sale agreement today and record it when ready," Harold said. "The shock would be complete." "Good," I said. "I'm done warning people who count on my patience." He nodded. "I'll draft everything." As I rose, he added, "Don't change locks." That's a spark. Let them paint the theater. We'll sell the stage. Marcus met me at the diner with a napkin map. 2 levers, he said. Paper and buyer. Want a buyer fast. Quiet cash, I said. No mortgage. I know someone, he said. Clean deals, discreet. Name's Rebecca Lane. Flipper? Solver. Writes checks, leaves no rumors. Steam wove out of my cup. Peace took hold. The feeling when a wrench finally fits a stripped bolt. Introduce us, I said. After Harold records the revocation, Marcus replied. Buyer first, notice second. We don't spook Michael until your pieces are set. Good, I said. I want his surprise to arrive with witnesses. There's a barbecue next week, Marcus added. He's bragging like a billboard. Let him, I said. Ropes look like ribbons if you tie them nicely. That afternoon I walked back to the bakery. Workers hauled drywall to a dumpster. One cursed the schedule. Another joked about Tina's daily bigger orders. In my room, I spread the documents on the table. Evelyn's deed, Harold's list, and the lender packet with Tina's tidy lies. I placed Evelyn's letter on top. "Look," I whispered. "He said I wouldn't fight." The recorder chimed as it transferred the porch conversation to my laptop. Michael's voice filled the room. "He's old. He won't fight." Rage didn't climb anymore. It settled, heavy and obedient, like a tool in my palm. I called Harold. "Ready," I said. "Drafts are in your email," he replied. "Signed tonight. We record in the morning." I sent a courtesy note to Holloway's legal desk. No fireworks, just facts. "Perfect." I called Marcus. "Line up Rebecca." "Tomorrow noon," he said. "She likes people who speak in numbers." I stood by the window. Somewhere past the rooftops, roses I couldn't see still scented the air. I pictured Tina angling photos to hide cracks. Michael tapping send with a prince's confidence. Let him send. Let him promise. Let him dream. I would not tap send. I would sign. Night settled like a closed fist. I drew a checklist in notebook, each box a step toward daylight. Revoke, record, notify, meet, sign. I whispered the order to steady my breathing. Revocation, affidavit. Notice, buyer agreement. I pictured Michael at the grill on Saturday, laughing, sauce on his fingers, pride on his face, and me arriving with a folder that ended show. "No shouting," I told myself. "Only pages." Evelyn once said strength wasn't loud. Tonight it sounded like paper. At dusk I returned to Maggie's fence for the recorder. She met me with crossed arms and wet eyes. "I heard some of it," she said. "I'm sorry, James." "Don't be," I said. "You just watered the truth." "What happens now?" "Now we stop the rot by removing the board, not painting it. When it comes off, everyone will see what was underneath. Will it hurt him?" "Yes," I said, "the way facts hurt liars." She nodded. "Then let the facts do it." My phone lit with texts from Marcus and Harold. Rebecca confirmed. Noon. Revocation ready. Recording at 9:15. Holloway legal. Received under review. 3 messages. 3 levers. I looked toward the dark outline of my house, a silhouette against a fading sky. Laughter spilled from the open windows like loose nails on concrete. "By next month," Michael had said. "No," I told the night. "By next week." The phone buzzed again. "Marcus, barbecue Saturday. Family's invited." I typed back, "I'll bring dessert. And papers." In war, the most dangerous soldier isn't the one who shouts. It's the one who blends in. That week, my weapon wasn't anger. It was Rebecca Lane. Marcus arranged the meeting at his office, a modest place above a florist, away from curious eyes. Rebecca arrived 5 minutes early. Sharp suit, clean notebook, a woman who didn't waste time. Marcus gestured between us. "James Carter, this is Rebecca Lane. She specializes in cash property deals. Fast, clean, no chatter." Rebecca shook my hand firmly. "I heard you've got something special tucked behind some noise." I raised an eyebrow. "Noise?" She smirked. "Contractors, loudmouth owners, parties. It's always the noisy ones sitting on gold." I liked her immediately. We sat around Marcus's desk while he laid out the situation like blueprints. "Marcus, he's occupying the property illegally." Rebecca, "No title transfer." Marcus, "Deed is clean. James is sole owner. They submitted fraudulent lender docs, but nothing's recorded." Rebecca, "So you can sell without telling them?" Marcus, "Exactly." Rebecca turned to me. "Why sell?" I exhaled slowly. "Because they treated my home like a pawn. I'd rather sell it to someone who understands paper than someone who lies through it." She nodded. "Understood." "What's the number?" Marcus slid her a figure. Rebecca scanned it, then whistled softly. "Fair. For cash, I can do this in 3 weeks, maybe 2. Title check's clean, deed's yours, and I know a notary who moves faster than gossip." Her pen tapped the paper. "But here's the fun part. If they're living there thinking they own it, the look on their faces when a buyer shows up is priceless." I smiled. "I'm counting on it." The next step was subtle infiltration. Rebecca had to see the house without raising alarms. Tina loved showing off, and Michael loved bragging. All it took was Marcus planting a rumor at a supply store. He told a contractor, "Heard there's another buyer sniffing around the neighborhood." Contractors talk faster than wildfire. By Friday, Tina had announced an open house-style barbecue to show off their masterpiece. Perfect. Saturday arrived with sunshine and the smell of overcooked meat. From across the street, I watched as Rebecca, dressed like any suburban house hunter, jeans, clean blouse, simple purse, walked casually toward my gate. Tina greeted her with a smile, practiced in mirrors. "Hi, are you from the neighborhood?" Tina asked brightly. "Sort of," Rebecca said smoothly. "I'm looking to buy nearby. I heard about the work going on here and got curious. Mind if I peek?" "Of course," Tina said, already basking in imagined praise. "We're doing a full modern upgrade." Open floor plan, bigger kitchen, new deck. Rebecca nodded, stepping through like a curious buyer. Inside, she scanned everything. The stripped archway, the fresh paint, the careless clutter. She asked the right questions. "What's your timeline?" "Soon," Tina said. "We're waiting on a funding package." "It's basically our house now." Rebecca tilted her head. "You're the owner?" Tina hesitated. "Well, yes, sort of. Family property. But we're the ones making it beautiful." Rebecca smiled. "I love confident owners." She spent 20 minutes pretending to admire tiles and light fixtures. Every answer Tina gave, she filed away. Meanwhile, I lingered at the corner, hat low, pretending to talk to Maggie. From our vantage point, Rebecca was flawless. Not a single suspicious glance. Michael walked past her once, gave a polite nod, then went back to flipping burgers and boasting to his buddies. "This house is going to make me a fortune," I overheard him say. "Dad's out of the picture." The bank's on board. Easy money. If only he knew the bank had received Harold's notice 3 days earlier. Their soft approval was probably gathering dust in the legal inbox now. Later that evening, Rebecca met Marcus and me at the diner booth we'd unofficially claimed. She opened her notebook. "They're confident," she said. "Too confident. Tina thinks she owns the place. Michael thinks the money's coming. I'm ready to move forward if you are." Marcus grinned. "She's quick." Rebecca leaned toward me. "James, if we do this, there's no going back. Once I sign and wire, the house is mine. I'll give them 30 days to vacate legally. No drama needed. The law's on your side. You sure you're ready?" I stared at the steam curling from my coffee. For decades, that house had been my world. Every nail, every rose bush, every quiet night with Evelyn under the kitchen light. "Yes," I said, "I'm ready." 2 days later, we met at Harold Kim's office. The paperwork was prepared. Simple, ironclad. Rebecca signed with a smooth, confident hand. I signed after her, the pen gliding across the deed like a blade through silk. Harold looked up. "It's official once we record tomorrow morning. She's the buyer. You're the seller. They are squatters with a rude awakening coming." I let out a long breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. "Good." Rebecca extended her hand. "Congratulations, Mr. Carter. You just sold your house under their nose. And they won't know until it's too late," Marcus added. I shook Rebecca's hand. "Evelyn would have liked you," I said quietly. Rebecca smiled. "Then let's make sure her roses don't grow around liars." That night, Michael threw another backyard party. Laughter echoed down the street. Lights blazed across walls that weren't his. He raised a beer and shouted to his friends, "Next month, I'm refinancing this place and making moves." This is just the beginning. I stood in the shadows near Maggie's fence, hands in my pockets, watching him celebrate a future he didn't own. Inside my jacket was the signed sale agreement. By morning, it would be recorded. He thought the house was his throne. He didn't know the ground beneath it had already been sold. Some wars end in blood. Mine would end over a plate of ribs and cheap beer. When the invitation arrived, technically a family barbecue, but really Michael's latest victory parade, I knew exactly what it was. An opportunity. Not for confrontation, not yet. For theater. A stage. And every stage needs its actors. I arrived just after sunset, when the backyard lights were glowing warm and deceptive, like lanterns in a mine shaft. I wore a dark blazer, clean jeans, and no disguise this time. My beard was trimmed, my back straight. It wasn't James, the grieving father, who walked in. It was James, the owner. The chatter faltered the moment I stepped through the gate. Heads turned. Cousins, old neighbors, Tina's friends. Some gasped quietly, others whispered. Michael froze mid-laugh near the grill, a spatula dangling in his hand. "Dad?" he said, blinking as if I'd risen from the dead. "Evening," I said calmly, handing a bottle of wine to Maggie. I heard there was a family gathering. Thought I'd stop by. Carla rushed to me, eyes wide. James, I didn't even know. I prefer quiet entrances, I said softly. You know me. Tina recovered first. She plastered on her brightest hostess smile. Well, look who's here. The man of the hour. We didn't expect you. I tilted my head. Strange. It's still my address on the deed. Her smile flickered like a light bulb with bad wiring. Oh, well, make yourself at home. I never stopped, I said, and walked in. The backyard was dressed like a magazine spread. String lights, fresh paint, a modern deck where Evelyn's rose arch once stood. It looked polished but hollow, like someone had put a silk dress on a corpse. Family members clustered in cautious groups. Lucas gave me a quiet nod from the drinks table. Carla stood by my side like she had when we were kids facing bullies. Michael flipped burgers too aggressively, metal scraping against the grill. So, he said loudly, forcing a grin, Dad's back. You traveling or something? No, I said evenly. I've been nearby. Tina handed me a paper plate like she was feeding a guest. You should see the upgrades, James. We've modernized everything. It's practically a new house. I looked around slowly. Yes, I noticed the archway's gone. Tina waved a dismissive hand. It was dated. This is a new era, I met her eyes. For some. As the night went on, people loosened up. Drinks flowed, and whispers followed me like shadows. Some relatives quietly approached me. Maggie. James, what's going on? Everyone's saying the house belongs to Michael. Now, me. People say many things. Truth takes its time, Lucas. Are you really okay with all this? Me. Do I look okay? He smirked. No, you look like a man with a plan. I patted his shoulder. Keep watching. Michael eventually couldn't stand my quiet presence anymore. He came over with a beer in one hand and a forced laugh. You know, Dad, it's good you came, he said loudly enough for people to hear. It's important to move on. You've been through a lot, but this, he gestured at the house, this is the future. Tina and I are taking care of it. We're building something new. I raised an eyebrow. Taking care of it? Yes, he said firmly. You know, carrying the legacy forward. You can rest easy, knowing it's in good hands. Tina joined him, looping her arm through his. Exactly. We've invested so much already. Contractors, redesign, big plans. We've practically made it ours. Her words were deliberate, performative. She was claiming ground. I stepped closer, my voice steady. It's a funny thing about houses, Michael. They keep records, deeds, paperwork. History doesn't change just because someone paints over it. He flinched slightly, then laughed too loudly. Dad, come on. Don't make this weird in front of everyone. You've moved out. You're happy. We're happy. This progress? I gave a small, almost serene smile. If you say so. Carla leaned toward me. James, what are you planning? Nothing, I said softly. Not tonight? Tonight, I'm just a guest. But inside, my mind was already placing pieces. Every family member here would soon be a witness. The night peaked with music and plates of food. Michael stood on the deck, beer raised, making a speech. To new beginnings, he shouted. To family, to legacy, to making this house shine like never before. Cheers followed. Tina kissed his cheek. I watched from the patio, hands folded behind my back like a chess player, watching his opponent celebrate before checkmate. Later, as dessert was being brought out, I made my move. I walked to the center of the patio and cleared my throat. Not loud, but enough. Years of commanding a noisy garage gave me a voice that carried without shouting. Excuse me, I said. Conversations dimmed. Heads turned again. Michael looked uneasy. Tina crossed her arms. I won't take much of your time, I began. I just wanted to say how good it is to see everyone here. It's been a long time since the house has seen this many faces. Evelyn always loved gatherings like this. Maggie smiled faintly. Carla wiped a tear. Even Michael softened for a moment at his mother's name. I continued. This house has stood through storms, laughter, births, and goodbyes. It carries history in every corner. Some of us seem to have forgotten that. But history has a way of reminding people. Tina shifted uncomfortably. What are you getting at? I looked at her calmly. Nothing complicated. Just a small announcement. Michael stepped forward, tense. Dad, I raised my hand gently. No need to interrupt, son. I'll be quick. Before we enjoy dessert, I have something to share with everyone about this house. The air went still. Carla gasped quietly. Lucas leaned forward. Even the neighbors who'd been invited for the free food turned their heads. I took out a thin folder from my blazer. It wasn't the full reveal. Not yet. Just the weight of it was enough to make Michael pale. In that silence, you could hear a fork drop. Michael's hand tightened on his beer. Tina's smile had completely vanished. I looked around the yard, at family who remembered Evelyn's laughter, at neighbors who'd watched us build the porch, at cousins who'd played in the yard as kids. All of them would remember this night. Michael eventually couldn't stand my quiet presence anymore. He came over with a beer in one hand and a forced laugh. Before dessert, I repeated slowly, let's talk about ownership. They say truth doesn't need to shout. All it needs is the right moment to stand. This was that moment. The folder felt heavy in my hand, not because of the paper inside, but because of the weight of everything it represented. Evelyn's foresight, my silence, and the betrayal that had festered too long. Before dessert, I said again slowly, letting each word echo through the backyard, I have something to share with everyone about this house. The music had died. The hum of conversation had evaporated. Even the string lights above us seemed to buzz louder against the silence. Michael's smile was frozen. Tina's eyes narrowed like knives. Carla whispered, James, what are you doing? What should have been done weeks ago, I replied calmly. I walked over to the long patio table where the food had been served, cleared a space with deliberate precision, and placed the folder flat in the center. Every movement was controlled. No yelling, no theatrics, just certainty. Michael stepped toward me. Dad, this isn't the time. It's exactly the time, I cut in, my voice low but firm. You've had your stage, Michael. You've made your speeches. You've shown everyone your home. Now it's my turn. I opened the folder. Inside, the original deed, with only my name. Evelyn's handwritten letter, Harold Kim's notarized affidavit of ownership, the recorded sale agreement with Rebecca Lane, copies of the fraudulent lender documents Tina had submitted. I didn't have to wave them around. I simply laid them out, one by one, like cards in a winning hand. The papers didn't need sound. They made their own kind of noise. Michael laughed nervously. What is this? Some kind of performance? No, I said evenly. It's a correction. Tina stepped forward, voice sharp. James, whatever this is, it's unnecessary. We've been improving the house. You left. I turned to her. I didn't leave. I was forced out. And while I was gone, you filed false documents with a private lender claiming ownership you don't have. Murmurs rippled through the guests. Cousins exchanged glances. Maggie covered her mouth. Lucas leaned forward like he'd been waiting for this. Michael's voice cracked. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? I picked up the deed, holding it up for everyone to see. This is the original property deed. My name, not yours, not Tina's, mine. Evelyn made sure of it. She left me a letter. I held up Evelyn's note, reading aloud. James, I know how the world works. People change. Protect this house. I've made sure everything is in your name. Don't ever sign anything without reading it. Her handwriting, graceful and unmistakable, was like a ghost in the room. A quiet gasp broke from Carla. Tina's jaw clenched. Michael tried again. Dad, come on, you signed the power of attorney. Power of attorney isn't ownership, I snapped, and I revoked it weeks ago. Recorded. Legal. You never filed any ownership transfer at the county office. You lied to the bank. And just so we're all clear, I pulled out the signed sale agreement with Rebecca Lane and laid it gently on the table. As of yesterday, this house has been sold. Legally. Clean title. Cash. No mortgage. No tricks. No son's approval required. The silence that followed was nuclear. Michael blinked. You... What? Tina stepped forward. You're lying. From the shadows near the fence, Rebecca appeared as calm as ever, holding her copy of the sale agreement. Marcus stood beside her, hands in his pockets, watching the show. I'm the buyer, Rebecca said simply, and starting next month, this property is mine. Legally. Check the county records on Monday. Tina's face went sheet white. Michael staggered back like he'd been punched. No, no, this is my house. I live here. I've put money into it. I cut him off. You built your fantasy on my silence. You mistook quiet for weakness. You thought you could throw me out and turn my home into your investment project. I stepped closer, lowering my voice so only he could hear. But you forgot who actually owns it. Tina snapped out of her shock. This is ridiculous. We've already started renovations. We have rights. Harold Kim emerged from the crowd like a blade. Actually, you don't. I'm Mr. Carter's attorney. You've been occupying this property without legal standing. Your lender was notified. Your soft approval was frozen. You have 30 days to vacate before formal proceedings begin. Michael stared at him. 30 days? Yes, Harold replied. That's generous. The crowd erupted, not in chaos, but in whispers. Years of family history bubbled to the surface. Maggie muttered, She knew. Evelyn knew. Lucas whispered to Carla. He sold it under their nose. Brilliant neighbors leaned over the fence, wide-eyed, like they were watching a play unfold in real time. Michael's hands shook. You sold it out from under me. I met his eyes, steady. No, son. I sold my house. You just never realized it wasn't yours, Tina turned on Michael. You said it was clean. You said it was ours. He stammered. I thought... She pushed past him, grabbing her purse. I'm not going down with you. She stormed out through the gate, heels clacking like gunshots. Michael watched her leave, then turned back to me, face flushed. You're going to regret this, Dad. You can't do this to your own family. Family? I said softly. You stopped being my family the day you shoved me out the door with a suitcase. He opened his mouth, but no words came. I turned back to the guests, to my family, to the house. This house was built on honesty, sweat, and love. Not lies, not greed. I may not live here anymore, but I won't let Evelyn's legacy rot because someone decided to rewrite history. Applause didn't break out. There was no dramatic cheer, just silence, and the kind of looks that burned themselves into memory. People would talk about this night for years. Michael stood alone in the backyard, surrounded by the life he thought he'd inherited. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel betrayed. I felt in control. I picked up the folder, tucked it under my arm, and started walking toward the gate. As I passed Michael, I paused. You wanted a house, I said quietly, but you forgot who built it. And then I left him standing there, surrounded by lights that suddenly didn't seem so warm anymore. The morning after the barbecue, the neighborhood woke like it had a new weather. The laughter from my yard was gone. Even the string lights sagged. By 9, Harold called. Recording confirmed. Title shows transfer to Rebecca Lane. The lender may blink. Good, I said. At 10, a man in a suit walked up my porch, folder clutched like a shield. I watched from Maggie's gate. Mr. Carter? He asked Michael. Owner, Michael said. What's this? Holloway Capital, the man replied. County records show a sale recorded yesterday. You are neither owner nor authorized signatory. Our review is closed. Michael's voice thinned. You can't just... My renovations... Good day, the man said and left like a door shutting. Before noon, Rebecca arrived with a clipboard. She didn't change locks. Harold had warned against sparks. She posted a notice at the entry. 30 days to vacate. Michael tore it down, felt eyes on him, then taped it back with shaky hands. I stepped from the shade. Read it twice, he flinched. You did this to humiliate me. I did this to finish the truth, I said. The humiliation is yours. Dad, please. Think of family. I am. That's why I stopped you. He looked at the deck, the gutted archway, the opened walls, as if the house might defend him. Fresh paint stared back with no loyalty. After lunch, the calls began. A supplier wanted payment. A contractor asked about the next draw. A buddy who had bragged with him last week now spoke softly. Rough spot, Mike. Gotta pull my crew. He called Tina. Voicemail. He called again. Silence. By evening, the yard was empty. He sat on the steps with his head in his hands. A boy after the fair shuts down. I crossed the grass. My shadow reached his shoes before I did. Say it, he whispered. What? That I deserve this. You deserve the lesson, I said. Ruin depends on what you do next. He laughed without humor. Easy for you. You're the hero now. I'm a man who learned to read, I said, and a husband who kept your mother's promise. His hands tightened. She always chose you. She chose the house because it held both of us, I said. You could have stood in it with us. You brought a wrecking crew. Where am I supposed to go, Dad? He asked. Start with the truth, I said. Find work not made out of my walls. Call the people you owe and speak plain. Apologize to the family without the word but. Tina won't come back. Maybe she will, I said. Maybe she shouldn't. He pointed at the notice. 30 days. That's the law. You could ask her to extend it. I could, I said. I won't. He stood, anger breaking the glaze. Then you're ruining me. No, I said. This is you meeting yourself. He swept a hand. You know the worst part? I counted on you never fighting. I know, I said. That's why I waited. So the counting would end. We stood a while, two men balanced on different memories of the same woman. Carla arrived with a thermos. Michael, call Maggie and apologize for last week. She pressed the thermos into my hands. Eat, she said. Then to him, tell the truth daily. She squeezed his shoulder and left. Dusk thickened. He tried again. If I pay the contractors, if I fix the arch, if I... Stop negotiating with symbols, I said. Live the correction. Start by returning the key I gave you at 15. He pulled it from his pocket, as if it burned, and set it on the step. Keep it, I said, not for doors. For memory, a car slowed at the curb. Tina watched us, then drove on. He watched the taillights disappear. I hate you, he said quietly. I know, I said. It's easier than hating the part of you that did this. He wiped his face. What happens now? Rebecca finishes paperwork. The bank closes its file. You box your things and write 3 letters. 1 to the lender, 1 to the contractors, 1 to your mother. The last you don't send, and you? I go see Evelyn, I said. I tell her the house will not lie in her name. Night fell. Somewhere a child laughed in a neighboring yard. He stood again, unsteady but upright. Will you come inside? One last time. I looked at rooms stripped and rearranged and imagined Evelyn's hands pressing soil around a new cane. No, I said. The last time was the night you pushed me out. I turned to go, then paused. One more thing. He looked up. Tomorrow, I said, Rebecca posts a schedule for move-out. If you vanish, it follows you to court. If you stay, it holds you to the date. Either way, the house is done with your name. Decide how you want to be remembered. He stared at the step where the key lay. How do you want to be remembered? As the man who kept a promise, I said. I walked to the gate. Behind me, his breath hitched, the right size for the boy who once chased fireflies under a rose arch. Dad, he called. I stopped. He didn't finish. The porch light hummed. The notice fluttered. The house waited. I stepped into the street and did not look back. Morning came softer than I expected. The house stood quiet behind the notice, wrapped in that strange, empty calm after a storm. I cut 1 rose from the back garden, one of Evelyn's. Rebecca saw me at the fence and nodded. Take it, she said. It belongs to your goodbye. Thank you, I told her. She touched my shoulder. I'll see the work through. The place will stand straight again. Not shiny. Honest. That's all I ever wanted. She smiled, then got on a call about permits. She talked in clean sentences. I liked that about her. Carla drove me to the cemetery. The sky was that pale blue Evelyn loved. Her headstone was simple. Her name, the years, and a line we chose together. We kept our promises. I knelt and set the rose down. Wind lifted the petals, as if Evelyn checked the color herself. Hey, Ev, I said. It's done. Carla stood back, crying without noise. He lost the house, I told the stone, not to cruelty, to truth. I waited until the facts could speak. Maybe you stood beside me when the papers touched the table. A breeze answered. I chose to believe it. I won't live there, I went on. The rooms echo now and the arch is gone. I'll move somewhere small near a bakery. Mornings smell right there. Carla laughed. You and those cinnamon rolls. They make honest promises, I said. Back in town, I met Michael on the sidewalk. He had boxes in his arms and sleep bruised under his eyes. I found some of Mom's recipe cards, he said, behind the stove. Keep them, I said. You'll cook better with memory watching. I wrote the letters, he added. Lender, contractors. Mom, the last one, it hurt. It was supposed to. I'm selling the car. Starting over at the hardware store. That's good. Silence sat between us, careful and thin. I don't know how to fix this, he said. You don't fix it, I answered. You live differently. Small and steady. The way wood learns to hold a nail, he swallowed. Will you ever forgive me? Forgiveness is a door, I said. I'm unlocking my side. You'll have to turn the handle on yours every day. He looked at the boxes. Can I call you sometimes? Call when you've kept a promise, I said. Let that be our rule. He nodded and walked. In the afternoon, Rebecca met me at Harold's office. 2 documents waited. One sent part of the sale to a clinic Evelyn loved. The other allowed the new owner to replant roses along the fence. You want the list to match your wife's? Rebecca asked. Yes, I said. Red and pink. And one white at the corner. I'll send a photo when they bloom. Send the sound instead, I said. Wind in them. That evening, Carla brought a small suitcase. You really moving out tonight? Endings keep better when they're clean. We walked the house once with Rebecca. No speeches. We noticed practical things, the window that stuck, the stair that complained. I left a set of labeled tools in the hall closet with a note. For whoever fixes things after dark. At the door, Rebecca asked, You okay? I'm tired, but clean. That's a good kind of tired. Night found me in the small room above the bakery. I opened the window and let the smell of yeast drift in. I made tea, set Evelyn's photo on the sill, and wrote to Michael. Son, some debts are money. Some are habits. Pay both. Speak plain. Plant something you cannot resell. When you are ready, come by for coffee. We will talk like men who remember the same woman. Dad, I sealed it and set it by the door. Outside, a breeze ran the streets, turned corners, slipped through unfinished rooms, and found the fence line where new roses would grow, to mark a promise. On my way back from the cemetery, Maggie had waved me over to the fence. She held a small paper bag. Bread rolls, she said, for your first night somewhere else. You've done plenty, I told her. Let me do this too, she said. It helps me remember the good years. It helps me remember them straight, I said, taking the bag. My phone buzzed. Rebecca. County posted the last filings. All clean. I'll start the roses next week. Good, I texted. Make room for roots. That night, Carla sat with me on the bakery steps. What will you do with your days? She asked. Fix small things, I said. Boiling kettles. Loose hinges. Sentences that lean. And Michael? I'll answer when he earns the call, I said. One kept promise at a time. We sat in quiet for a while. It felt like a floor that finally stopped creaking. I switched off the light. The city hummed. Somewhere a key turned in the right direction. Somewhere a man chose not to lie. And somewhere in the wind, I heard Evelyn laugh. The sound she made when something finally worked. Rest, I told her. The house won't lie in your name. The curtains lifted once like a nod and settled.